and it looks like I've got 15 minutes, something like that. Well, 20 because of the ads that happened 5 minutes early. All right, so my question or topic, getting back to this, is that we need to make a covenant with God, and the covenants are based on topics that have been edited out of Christian experience. And the covenant, when God made a covenant with Abraham, he, as a burning lamp, went between the pieces of the sacrifice. But God tells us, Christ does in Luke 12:35, have your lamps burning. God was proactive when he made it with Abraham. He wanted the covenant, and he, as a burning lamp, went between the pieces of the sacrifice, as if to say, and this is how men did it of anciently, they said, may I be torn apart as this sacrifice if I don't keep my part of the bargain. In this case, Abraham went to sleep, and he has no obligation to keep it. But he thankfully wanted the covenant and is complying with the circumstances, and we can do the same. Christ wants us proactive because he tells us to have our lamps burning. Okay, and if we are proactive, we will be more interested in it. Just like the Hebrew worthies that were willing to die if they said, King, we're not going to bow down. You can throw us in the furnace if you want, but we're not bowing down. God can spare us if he wants. Well, same for us. Okay, God can spare us, but we must make a covenant to honor him in the 7 topics that have a 7-fold emphasis, like God's name. If it says God's name is like a strong tower, he that runs into it will be saved. In Joel 2:32, it says, when the day of the Lord comes, when the sun is darkened, moon turned to blood before the day of the Lord, in verse 31, it says, and he whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be delivered. Well, I think we can be spared by the covenant, and we see it again in Exodus 34, verse 10 and 11. He says, behold, I make a covenant. It's a terrible thing I'm going to do with you. I'm going to drive out the Canaanite. Well, God's protected Israel in battles with the Canaanite, and he gave Israel the land. So we have big crises to come with life or death issues, as in the book of Daniel. First 6 chapters had life or death issues. But if we are willing to make a covenant and be true to it, I think we can be spared, basically. So that's how the name fits in. And we said last week that God's name is not Yahweh. That YHWH were consonants. But Josephus said the name consists of 4 vowels. The Yod, He, Vav, He are vowels. That's the music and melody of a word. And the Yod has the E sound. The He has the Ah sound, Ea, okay? As in Samaria, okay? Or the prophets Obadiah, really it's Ea ending. Jeremiah, Obadiah, Hosea. Those were prophets came in God's name. And hallelujah means praise to God in almost every language. So now this is a summary of last week. We're going to get on to the covenant now, and I'm saying there are 7 topics that we need for the covenant. But I like Ezekiel 36. It's easy to remember. 3 dozen chapters and 2 dozen verses. Verse 24 says, I'm going to take you from among the heathen, gather you out of all countries, bring you into your own land. Then I'll sprinkle clean water, and you'll be clean. I'll put a new heart in you, put my spirit in you, cause you to walk in my statutes and judgments, and you dwell in the land that I gave your fathers. The statutes and judgments are guidelines to the law. We all know, for example, you shall not commit adultery. Well, you can do that, though, with other men. You shall not lie mankind with mankind as womankind. And animals also forbidden. Christ even magnified it further. Yeshua, he said, to look on a woman and lust after is you've committed adultery in your heart. So multiple protections. As Job said, I will make a covenant with my eyes that I will not think upon a maid. And that's something that can preserve and keep us from getting into trouble, basically. So thank you for considering these things, and we want to move on now from covenant and statutes and judgments to realize how we um, uh, can live with these 7 different topics. The I, last week we looked at, I think, the judgments in Exodus 21, 22, and 23, and it's eye for eye, tooth for tooth, life for life. Well, that doesn't mean that if someone hits us, we hit them back necessarily. We feel like it maybe, but if someone murders somebody, uh, it's not good to go to a court and then go to jail and maybe get paroled in a few years, because these people that are breaking God's laws are out in a few years, and they do it again. Whether it's rape or murder, they're free to do it again, and they prison wasn't so bad. They get free room and board and recreation and medical care and all that. Well, God's laws are. It says the law of the Lord is perfect in Psalm 19, verse 7, I believe it is. And we need a perfect law. And Moses, when he gave them the law, he said, "What nation has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law?" Well, we need familiarity with Deuteronomy. And when Israel returned under Nehemiah, they read the book of the law and made a covenant to do it, to live that way. And they signed and sealed to it. And we need to do that as well, basically. So let's plan on that. I I heard also before we got to this topic, while I was waiting for my part. I'm going to try to see the time here on the. Okay, we got about 10 minutes or 15 left. Um, I want to address a calendar issue. That's really the fourth. I believe that the fourth pale horse represents the papacy, because it represents maybe disease. And during the Dark Ages, the Pope was in charge of Europe while there were epidemics of smallpox and bubonic plague and so on. And we're coming to the end times when plagues and bad things are going to be rampant everywhere. And I believe Pope will be in charge of the UN New World Order, riding the beast of New World Order in Revelation 17th chapter. But addressing the health issues and to see how Bible prophecy portrayed the papacy in Daniel 7, we see it's a little horn that grew out of the Roman Empire when it fell. The Roman Empire was the fourth beast, and there were 10 horns that grew out of the empire, but one uprooted 3 and became very great. Well, that was papal Rome, and it says it was diverse, or in other words, different. It wasn't like it just plainly political power. It was religious as well, and it said that it spoke great words against the Most High. Well, I can imagine that official title of the Pope, Lord God the Pope, would be offensive to God, because those are titles that God has, and we recognize that. But Pope doesn't belong there. And it also says that he thought to change times and laws. Well, as the time between the last half hour and mine, while I'm waiting to listen, I hear how if you're looking for a verse in the Bible that says that God changed the day to Sunday, you won't find it. I agree. Rome changed the day, but it also changed the feast days. Instead of holy convocations, we have unholy pagan festivities, like Easter is a fertility rites. Easter bunnies, very fertile. And eggs, fertility symbols for Easter eggs. Well, we don't need that. Sadly, it shows up on Sunday morning trying to make Sunday holy, when God made really the first day of Passover holy as a holy convocation, and then there were 7 days in which they ate unleavened bread. A type for us in the end time, when we will need to eat unleavened bread, unleavened topics, okay, that we've been talking about on the here. And at the end of the 7 topics for 7 days, I believe we need to make a covenant with God, saying we're going to live for these, and I believe He will bless us greatly. Perhaps 50 days later at Pentecost, from the that's how they counted penny. It actually is not 50 days later from the end of Passover, but from the beginning, the day of wave sheaf. Okay, so my point is that we don't have the calendar right, and it's I just want to explain this so that we can understand it better. The point is that hold on, I'm going to see what time it is again. It's I think we got about 10 minutes. The rule of first use is seen as based on Revelation 1:11, that Christ is Alpha and Omega, first and last. He's also the Word. And if you go to where a word or phrase is first found, sometimes, not always, but certain words will have the first emphasis of that word or use of it is also prophetic for the end time. I'll give you a couple examples. The wedding parable of Matthew 25, when it woke up the sleeping virgins, it says the bridegroom comes. Well, but it was a midnight cry. If you wonder where in the Bible you would find a cry at midnight, it was Egypt. When God executed judgment on Egypt, a great cry went up from Egypt. And so basically that's the rule of first use. And we see the wedding parables, I think, are rich with meaning from that. For example, in Luke's wedding parable, when Christ comes to knock, we must open immediately. I like the word immediately in Luke 12:36, but it is first found in the King James Bible in Matthew 4, verse 22. When Christ called James and John, they immediately left the ship and their father and followed him. Okay. Well, leaving the ship represents leaving your job. Okay. And in the end time, when Christ knocks with the earthquake, and by the way, the knock is an encoded earthquake, because that's where Christ knocks in Revelation 3:20. We like the meaning of gentle Jesus always knocking at our door, but really he's not. It also is the fact that church, lukewarm with materialism, ended in an earthquake. Serious knock, not just always knocking at the door of our heart. And so we need to be ready to open to him with a feast of unleavened bread, because it's going to happen at that timing. But Christ said, you don't know the day or hour, but as the days of Noah. And but as the days of Noah means second month Passover, for reasons like in Numbers 9, verse 10 and 11, it was a provision, two provisions for a late Passover. If you had contact with a dead body, and I believe that lots of people are having contact with dead bodies because of the COVID epidemic and so on, and it would be we may see that more again. We don't know fully what's going to be in the near future, but I believe that we haven't seen the end of these epidemics, because it's the way we're going to do what pharma wants us to do, and yet what we really don't want to do, because the Bible will protect us. And we understand from Revelation 18, verse 23, that it's not sorcery that deceives all nations. The Greek word badly translated sorcery is pharmakia. And so they're deceiving us with what they say we need, when God gave a human body that is really, hold on, if I could find it here, don't see it right now, have a book titled The Body is the Hero. And really, the body is the hero, and it has white blood cells that can fight any infection if we keep ourselves healthy and right. But if we load ourselves with sugar over the holidays, like cookies, cakes, and candy, we get the flu, So anyway, running out of time, we'll have to finish up next week with this. I hear the music, didn't know what time it was. But come back next week, Tuesday, 12:35 Mountain Time, and whatever. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you again then. Thank you. Go to my website, healthhappinessdestiny.com, and you can get more information. healthhappinessdestiny.com.